And welcome to a Wednesday evening at 10 p.m. This is a Fantasy Fan Sportscast where we talk fantasy with a fan and an expert. And my expert is Mr. Chris Allen. Good evening, Mr. Chris Allen.
It's like super formal now. I don't know how to deal with that. To be quite honest with you.
Super formal.
Right. I mean, Mr. Chris Allen, oh my gosh, with all the yelling that you were doing to me last week, this is just we're off to a good start.
There you go. Right. Yeah, we only disagreed last week on the whole hour.
Right. Yes.
That's all right. That's all right. Yes, this will be our first show that will be on the Sportscrew radio network, the sportscrew.com. And so we're glad they'll have us over there. We are live on YouTube. We're also live on our normal Spreaker. And, you can download us where all good podcasts are available. And the sportscrew.com. They'll be posting the show up there also. So if you come to YouTube and log in, we have a chat room up there. And, you can partake in the love and affection of me, at least, I guess. We'll go there. No, everyone likes you. No one comes here to hear what I have to say. Chris, it's all about you. We know that.
What are you talking about? You know that they tune in just to listen to you yell at me, you old curmudgeon.
Oh, you haven't called me a curmudgeon in a while. So
it's been a while. I had to bring it back.
It's amazing you didn't do it last week since we disagreed so much.
I was having too much fun. What are you talking about?
And I felt bad bringing it up to anybody that you were wrong because
oh my gosh.
I didn't want it to seem like a contest right through. You know what?
We haven't even done even 3 minutes in.
Yeah, that we're arguing, right? But everyone can tear up their own way, and we will jump right in that right away tonight. We got a lot to get to because I have a draft on Sunday. So obviously, and this is my big home league. So obviously, if I'm not going to take advantage of the knowledge that I get by having, Mr. Sports Illustrated, Mr. 4x4, and I don't know, like 9 other places. Wait, what did you announce last week? I think last week you announced
Number Fire,
which is
I'm freelancing with them now.
All right, that's JJ there, right?
Yeah, JJ Zacharyson, Brandon Gadula, Jim Sonis, Neil Dutton, so many talented writers there.
So many. Where are you on the ladder? Where are you on the tier?
At the very bottom.
You are the concrete that they set the ladder on.
Oh, I'm not even. No, I'm the grass that's on the other side of the concrete. Right. That's where I'm at.
There you go. All right. I didn't even ask on the StreamYard. Do you see the chat room? Does it come up from your side?
Yeah, I think it only. If I'm assuming, it's only for you.
For me. All right. So I do see it, and that's kind. And actually, I think I can hit a button and then it'll pop up across the bottom down.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, Mr. Lou Landers was making fun of us.
We had fun, Lou. We always have fun.
Right, we did. We had
like an old married couple just bickering with each other.
Right. Old married couple. And I know what it's like to be an old married couple. So we're good to go. A couple of quick things before we get into the nitty and the gritty. Only because I know we talked last week about the big fantasy show here on Sunday in Ohio that you're going to. And I was getting all excited. But I kept thinking at the same time, something's on that. That's my big home day draft. So I will be, we draft in person. So I will be at the... Yeah, well, good or bad.
You guys should come up and do it at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What a better site to actually have a live draft.
You mean
in Canton?
You mean my whole team should have been? My whole draft, the whole league should have shown up.
Yeah, we're doing a draft there.
All right. I'm not sure I could have got everyone, but I guess maybe I should have.
And then the people that don't want to go, they can just do it online.
There you go. But we don't do that. We do it in person. We still do the little sticky names and all that. It's a blast. I've got to smoke some.
That sounds like fun.
I'm smoking some butt Friday night, so that I
Okay.
have pulled pork. I'll make some barbecue sauce. We drink. It's a blast. I mean, hey, it's the reason to get in fantasy. If you don't care a whole lot, you just like the idea of getting together and drafting. It's really fun, you know.
Oh, I agree.
And
Yeah, I agree.
it is where you get a holler and each other and make fun of picks, and it's just not the same. I mean, the word night and day almost is it. I mean, drafting online is fun, but there's nothing like drafting with 12 people.
Oh yeah,
in person.
Yeah, yelling at each other, after each pick is made, telling them their team sucks, and trying to force them to make bad picks. I mean, it's the best part of fantasy football. Drafting is just the best part.
But I was listening to the Fantasy Channel on SiriusXM this evening, and the group that was on there tonight, they were talking. They're all going to be there into Canton, right? You're Canton,
right? Canton.
And all day Sunday, but I think it made it sound like it actually was from 11 to 6, the actual show?
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty much all day, yeah, because we have my crew. We've got the podcast stage, I believe, from 5 to 6, just to end the entire day, and then but yeah, I think that's when it starts because there's a charity draft going on starting at 10 o'clock, which I'll be there for that, and then I think the doors open at 11. And then after that, it's nothing but discussion panels, live podcasts, booths open where people can walk around and talk with, other hosts and all that. So there's going to be stuff going on all day long. Right.
Yeah. Next year we'll plan. I have to plan ahead. We could have done a show from there. I mean, we're drafting, early this year just because 2 of the guys in our league are, in the military, and
okay.
But what I'm going to say, no, they're in the National Guard, so that we had to move it a week early this year because their guard was changed, and hey, we don't want them. They're protecting us so that we can.
Oh yeah.
So that we can have fantasy, football, and feel safe while we do it. So we can't change it, but we do have, like I said, YouTube.com, all one word, a fantasy fan. And you'll find me, or you'll find us, and you can do it. There's multiple people. Cha-Cha, Lou Landers. I thought I saw Double A there earlier. All a group now. I now have another show.
Oh my goodness!
Right. It's called A-Hole Hour. It is 4 a-holes talking about a-holes for a whole hour about fantasy and sports in general. We've done 2 or 3 shows, part of the Sports Crew. It's fun. We're having a good time. And, it's, hey, it's fun. It's a blast. We've done, like I said, the 4 of us together. Definitely the word a-hole fits our show. And, because, a little crazy. Right. Again, everyone knows on our show, fantasy is the main thing. But, I mean, how can we not? I think 3 years in a row we've brought up Simone Biles. And again, she wins the 6th time in a row. I don't think it's record because I think she broke the record last year as the 5th year. But by far the best gymnast in the world, and definitely in the USA.
That triple double that she hit. I saw the replay. Phenomenal. Oh my gosh, absolutely nailed it.
If people don't watch, I mean, it's, again, I know there's people out there who will say no, I just watch football, baseball, the what they would call the ball sports or the majors, but I mean, it's phenomenal to see great athletes do great things. Period. And by far the best gymnast I've ever seen. I mean, she's just fun to watch. She's an athlete. So, pretty amazing. So let's get right into it a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about, did you watch? I know we discussed, did you watch much preseason last week?
I didn't watch the games. I caught them through Twitter because I was working at the same time, so I was actually able to at least catch most of the highlights, which isn't the best way to consume preseason because a lot of people will blow up specific plays or the highlight reels just to either pump up a player or try and put a wet blanket on some of the hype train involving some other guys. But I got some pretty good analysis on there, which is I think there's pretty compelling evidence, I think, out of the game. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens over the next couple weeks with more stuff to come.
Obviously, the big game I watched was Cleveland and Washington. Did you watch any of that? Did you get to see Mr.
Yeah.
Played most of the second half? So that was pretty exciting to actually get to watch someone who's been on our show and, someone who's been at my house and I have fed, it's pretty fun. Again, I was watching, that's probably a game I wouldn't have watched. I'm not a Cleveland guy, not a Washington guy. But to watch the line, I watched the whole first half waiting for him. And then when he finally got in there, it was pretty exciting. And the whole town, everyone in town was watching because obviously Cleveland was on TV because the Bengals didn't play that night. So that was pretty cool, to get a watch, to watch that. So, I'm not a person who takes a whole lot from preseason other than injuries and that kind of stuff. So, because the people who do phenomenal things and look phenomenal, if you're not paying enough attention, you don't realize that they did it against people who might not even make it in the league. It's really even hard to judge, the good things. So, again, week 2's coming up this week. Our Bengals are playing the Washington Redskins. That's tomorrow night. So, that is one I'm going to have to watch it on tape delay. Tomorrow night's softball.
Oh, okay.
Semifinals at 6:15. If we win, we'll be playing at 7:30. I'm expecting that we're going to win. So
I'll look at you.
I am going to miss probably the Bengals. Have to watch it.
I'll be out there. I'll be watching for West though.
Yeah, I'll catch it on. Usually, what's nice about here is that Bengals game will come on again like at 1 a.m. Which makes it kind of fun. So I can watch it again. And the NFL Network plays all the preseason games. Any other preseason game that you're looking forward to or anything? I think we'll see a little bit. This is still one where we won't see a lot of anybody, but most teams usually at least do one series with their air quote starters.
Right.
Is there anything you're looking forward to? Or again, I'm looking forward to it just because I draft on Sunday. So, got to be able to, got to pay attention. Just like I said, mainly just injuries. Anything you're looking forward to, Chris?
More just to see if the same level of like the starters that played last week still see the same number of reps, the same percentage of reps or snaps, or if there are any changes from that. Because I think while we can't take too much from the preseason, who comes out with the first team offense or who doesn't play at all, can kind of give us an idea as to what the team is expecting going into week 1. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for.
Right. The guys that don't play at all, usually that's a good thing this time of year.
Right. That they want them ready for week 1. Right.
So that's a big deal. What about Helmet Gate and
oh my gosh.
Gate? Are you over that? Is that maybe has some fantasy relevance right at the moment? A lot of question marks in the last 2 weeks in the first few rounds of your drafts. All of a sudden,
right?
What's your opinion on Helmet Gate? Which I think, did I hear it was solved this morning and he'll be back tomorrow, or was he back today?
He was back yesterday. Still looking for a helmet. He was actually out on Twitter, like crowdsourcing for somebody to get him a helmet. I think he posted
because the Raiders don't have helmets.
I guess, but to me, I guess it felt like the whole situation was kind of overblown because I do think that while I understood what Antonio. You get used to a certain thing, you want to play a certain way, and you want to use the same equipment. So I get that. I just think that the whole diva thing and him being like crazy and all this other stuff, while I think there's some merit to it, I don't think was really, warranted in this particular situation, because it seemed like from the reports that I was reading that he was in contact with the team throughout all of this. They understood what he was trying to do, and he was just trying to leverage his position in order to continue doing the things that playing the way that he wanted to play. But as soon as the arbitrator came in and said, no, you have to use these helmets, he was back at practice. So it's not like so I don't think that the whole song and dance that the media and like all of football Twitter like went through yesterday because of his announcement that he might retire from football and all that. It just seemed like it's just another chapter in the AB saga that's kind of gone just completely off the rails since even before he left Pittsburgh. But I mean, it's just another thing that we're just going to look back on and be like, man, I can't believe that. Along with this, and the funny thing was that wasn't even the craziest thing that happened. I mean, in that whole time frame, because everybody was wondering what the heck would happen with his feet. So that was like between his feet being frozen and burned and like looking, I mean, absolutely disgusting. We had to deal with this helmet gate thing. So it was just, I don't know, that whole week was just wild to me.
Right. Obviously, the issues for him were the top 6 inches and the bottom 6 inches.
Right.
I'm assuming everything in the middle was
everything in the middle is fine.
Now, I thought it right away because I'm a Hard Knocks watcher from the very beginning, and it does seem like every year there's the team that's on Hard Knocks has some crazy things come up. If you don't recall, last year was Josh Gordon. He was with the Browns and refused to come on the air and then sat out and the team. So finally today I did hear another show where they said the same thing. Is this a Hard Knocks, get attention, but still not practice kind of thing? Meaning he's one of those veterans that probably could get away without practicing much anyway, but they're always looking for ways to get out of it that makes them seem legit. So, this kind of made a story because are you watching Hard Knocks? Have you gotten 2 weeks in, or are you not watching?
No, behind on it. I'll need to catch up at some point. Although I heard as soon as AB got to Napa, like where the team's practicing at, the cameras just immediately flocked.
Yeah. Both weeks he's been, I won't use the center of attention, but obviously the beginning of the show, and things like that. And
he's the star of the team, or at least the most recognizable player within that franchise.
Right. And then, hey, you know what? Our ex-Dayton Flyer quarterback who's coaching that team, he cusses a lot. I don't know.
He does. Yeah.
They've caught him on film a couple of times saying, I got to watch the cussing. I got to watch the cussing. And then the very next, words out of his mouth.
Well, I mean, for however many years he's been in the booth and had to, keep it PG for all the people watching at home. So now he's, unleashed and he can say whatever he wants in front of his team, in front of his players, and kind of gotten the best of him. That freedom has gotten to him.
Right. Now, Lou in the chat room is questioning the word reality show. And I agree. There's a lot of reality shows that are edited because they end before they show them. So they edit the whole thing. Meaning, I don't think they lie or cheat on how some of these reality shows end, but they do edit them so that the storyline flows to meet the ending.
Yeah.
Hard Knocks can't really do that because it is even this week's Tuesday night ended with stuff that happened on Tuesday.
Right.
They ended the very end with, hey, he's going to come back with a new helmet, so, they were up to date, on them, and that's it. And Lou says he has a friend that works on a reality show.
That's awesome.
And I agree. I think a lot of reality shows, do a lot of editing and a lot of, I'll use the word forced production. But I don't think Hard Knocks do it. I would trust NFL Films that they're not doing anything. I would say last year, Josh Gordon had issues and felt more comfortable not being on camera. So I don't think NFL Films forced that. And I don't think this year, again, it's Antonio Brown. I don't think it's too far-fetched from fantasy people or, football people to think that he wouldn't do this just to get, the camera his direction or.
Yeah, I think it's the confluence of everybody knows that AB has those diva tendencies. And I think he knows that everybody knows that about him, so he will try and leverage that to his benefit whenever he can. And I think that was a part of what we saw this past week.
Right. So, and I've enjoyed the show. Like I said, we watch. It's one of those sports shows where Mrs. Easy will watch it with me because now this year though so far there hasn't been much personal things. You know what I'm saying? There's been,
all right, yeah.
But not like in the past. She was hooked the first week because again, as a family, we have all watched the Last Chance U, and which is the college, junior college show that's on Netflix. Well, one of the kids that was on there was in the Raiders camp the first week, and in the first 5 minutes of the episode, he gets cut. So, the wife was all excited to see, how well he did, and he got cut right away.
Or like the one was a few years ago when Jeff Fisher got fired. We knew where that was going.
Yeah. That was like next to the last week, if not the last week.
Yeah.
The show actually started with him coming in the room and announcing it. It was actually unique. I agree with you.
Yeah. Well, because we all knew how that was going to end, but it was just like seeing how much detail they would actually put into it. It was actually kind of shocking. I mean, how much they really went into. Right. I mean, him interacting with the players, the other coaches, and all that after he got the news.
Gruden has done none of that so far.
Which is, I don't know. That's a different track. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's his first year back.
Gruden. I also think Gruden knows more about, the spotlight. Obviously he's been on both sides of that camera. He worked for ESPN. He did a lot. So I think he's maybe more aware. The other coaches on the show, they've been in their offices. There's been cameras there. No, I mean, they get him in the meeting room. They get him outside doing, his, actual press conferences. But, they're staying away so far from, that personal, where he's in offices and into, that kind of stuff. So that's him just being more aware than some of the other guys.
It could be.
So, all right. Before we move to our tiers, we're going to be talking middle of the draft tiers to get ready for your drafts. Me this week, some of you the next couple weeks. Any other major news, major injuries, anything? I really haven't heard much.
No, I mean, nothing significant. I mean, other than the Andrew Luck news that came out like earlier this morning. Yeah,
it is scary. And that's a little fantasy there. I mean, he was one of the top quarterbacks, and I think has fallen quickly in ADP.
Yeah, QB4, I want to say he was getting drafted around 6th, 7th round in 12-team leagues.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll get it. I mean, we'll just start there before we get into our tiers. Right now, you probably could draft a pretty good team that could be a terrible team. Meaning, you could get AJ Green, you could get Luck, you could get Brown, you can get Zeke Elliott, you could get Josh Gordon. And when I say those names, meaning if you drafted right, you are capable. If you were willing to gamble on all those players, you literally could almost force to where you would have a team with the majority of the players I just named on that team. They're all dropping far enough where at this point, I think of all the names I named, Zeke's going round 1. So you could draft Zeke in round 1.
Right.
In round 2, it's a little more touchy, but at the end of round 2, Gordon is actually fallen more than that. I'm trying to think the big risk right now in round 2. Most of them have fallen much farther than that. But you know what I'm saying? You literally, if you in round 2 wanted to go with Gordon, you could. In round 3, you could actually AJ Green's dropping to the 4th or the 5th. You could. Yep. You could pick up, it's just amazing that you could have 4, 5, 6, what some people might have said round 1 or 2 picks on your team if you're willing to take that gamble. So, and obviously if you're drafting early, you have to be prepared for some of that risk because that could be a winning team or obviously could be a losing team. Right. Let me get my screen up here, and we'll start, sharing the screen, even though we still have an argument on tiers and, what a tier is and all that, and that you're wrong.
Of course.
We will. Do you see the screen there, sir?
Yes, I see it.
All right, let's start.
Did we not do quarterbacks?
Yeah, I'm going to start with that. I just didn't. I guess what I want to do first is we'll quickly go in the tiers we did and in quarterback, because there weren't that many. We went ahead and tier 1 was Mahomes, tier 2 was Rodgers and Watson. Then tier 3 we started with Luck, Ryan, Mayfield, Wentz, Newton, Wilson, Breeze. So pretty big tier in 3. Obviously, before we go any further, tier 4 and 5 and 6 possibly. Do we want to move Luck out of the top of tier 3 to either the bottom of tier 3, or are you moving him to tier 4?
If
you were drafting Sunday, just because people might be. So
I'd be fine at this point putting him at the bottom of that tier. I'm not ready to pull him completely out yet, but I would say, shift him to the bottom of that tier.
Are you willing to wait the whole preseason if he doesn't play and still hold him in that high, or how many more weeks until you would drop him?
I'd say, so what, today's August 14th. I would say give it to, probably the end of the month.
When I look at it, which we're going to jump right to tier 4 because that's where we're going to start. I definitely would pick 2 or 3 people, maybe 4. I would pick personally right now, because I wouldn't gamble on Luck. I would put Winston, Murray, Prescott, Goff. I would take all 4 of them before I would draft Luck, unless Luck really fell deep. You know what I'm saying? To me, I would look at Luck as a second guy, meaning, all right, I'll draft Winston here, and then a couple rounds later, if Luck fell even farther, I'd pick him up and maybe take a shot. But so I know you said keep him at tier 3, but would you still pick him today above Winston, Murray, Prescott, or Goff?
Winston, probably not. Murray actually has a case to move into tier 3 to me personally, and I would probably shift Russell Wilson out of that back into tier 4. But most of those other guys that you mentioned, Jameis, yes. Kyler, yes. Who else did you mention?
Winston, Murray, Prescott, and Goff.
Goff, no. But Dak Prescott, nah, that's probably not either. I think for me, it's either Winston or Murray for me.
Before Luck?
Yeah, but if just based off if I was drafting today, I'd probably let him slide behind those guys.
Right. And Lou in the chat room saying he'd wait even longer and get Rivers, which obviously that was but before we go further, right now, would you in this tier 4, would you put Roethlisberger, Lamar Jackson, and Rivers and Cousins? I mean, are all those tier 4 quarterbacks? In my mind, they're all pretty equal, but are there any of those that you would not put in that tier?
I'd probably pull Cousins out of that tier. And that move him down to like tier 5.
We would make tier 4. We would go Winston, Murray, Prescott, Goff, Roethlisberger, Lamar Jackson, and Phillip Rivers. I wouldn't take Lamar Jackson, but
because I mean your chance at getting 25 to 30 plus weeks, I can see anyone in tier 4 hitting that mark, but anyone in tier 5, I mean, man, Kirk Cousins, it could happen, but with the way that they're working their offense right now and wanting to be more run heavy, I just can't see it. Mitch Trubisky did it a couple of times, but it took him like that ridiculous 6 touchdown game in order to get there. We don't know about his rushing.
Right.
And also right now he's looking lackluster in training camp. Josh Allen did it, but that was mostly on scrambles. Tom Brady, he's fallen off. Jimmy Garoppolo apparently just threw 5 interceptions in 5 passes in practice today. I mean, so all those guys, they have it in their range of outcomes, but it's just at the very tippy top of their range of outcomes. And
right.
I just can't see it.
And like Lou says in the chat room, in 1 QB leagues, obviously in tier 5, we're already at the 18th quarterback. So
right.
Tier 4 is 11 through 17.
Right. And after that, you're looking at your streamers. That's essentially what we're looking at there.
Tier 5, I agree. Tier 5 is your streamers. Back to tier 4. The biggest question I have is Goff. We're putting 3 of his wide receivers pretty high up. And a lot of people are putting their tight end pretty high up. And we're talking about Eckler as a running back that can catch out of the backfield. But
wait, who are we talking about? Goff? Goff doesn't have Eckler.
Oh, LA Rams, Gurley. I'm sorry. I said
there we go.
Gurley. But we're talking Gurley as a running back. But my thing is, it's a high-powered offense, but our quarterback is in tier 4, quarterback 14. That seems, I don't know. I'm not a fan, but at the same time, the numbers of all of his offensive players right now, in my mind, don't match the numbers people are giving him.
Well, I think that's part of the problem with Goff at this point and understanding his value. And actually, I wrote about him. It was either for Fantrax or for 444. I can't remember which one.
Sure.
But
one of the 800 articles you write.
Yeah, I think it was actually in quarterbacks to avoid, because while everybody likes Brandon Cooks, everybody likes Robert Woods, everybody likes Cooper Kupp and coming back. And then we already have Gurley propped up in the second round, third round, and Darrell Henderson's now going in the 6th, 7th, 8th round. So we have now essentially 5 LA Rams going in the, let's say, top half of drafts. It's sure you would think that would pull Jared Goff up there, but if you look back at his season log numbers, he actually fell off quite a bit. Like once Gurley went out as a quarterback, like he just wasn't able to sustain that level of QB performance. So I guess for me, it's just, I don't know what to expect from the Rams this season. So it's just, for me, it's easier for me to take a stand on maybe 1 or 2 of those pieces. And with as many, I guess, more, secure positions that I feel on some of the quarterbacks in tier 4, I would rather take Jameis Winston over Jared Goff. I would honestly rather take Dak Prescott over Jared Goff, because it's just, to me, without understanding what that offense is going to look like in 2019, it just seems to me that it'd be easier to maybe buy 1 or 2 of the pieces out of that offense that we know to be good, and then try and look at a different quarterback than that.
Right. So would you move? So right now we have Goff 14. We have Roethlisberger, Lamar Jackson, and Rivers underneath him. Personally, I would take Rivers first out of those 4, but I think their numbers are going to be similar. Mm-hmm. To me, Rivers is the one out of that group that could end up at the end of Rivers is capable of, at the end of the season, being a tier 2 or tier 3 guy. I
don't know about tier 2, but I would say he'll probably be drafted around QB 14 to QB 16, and he'll probably wind up finishing as like QB 10 to 12. That's what I can totally see happening.
All right. And then that would tier 5 to me is our streamers. That's Cousins, Trubisky, Allen, Brady, Garoppolo, Carr, Sam Darnold, Stafford. I'm
given the right matchup, and those guys can ball out.
Well, I think Stafford is my guy, to be real honest. In a 2-quarterback league, if Stafford's my second quarterback this year, I'm looking to get one early and maybe Stafford late, because Stafford was hurt last year. He's got a couple good guys this year. The team's changing. I'm pretty excited about that. We do have a question in the chat room, if you can see it up there. Jake Morgan in the chat room asked, in a 10-team half-point PPR league, would you do this trade? His 6th pick and his 26th pick for the other guy's 3rd and 38th.
Yeah, because a 26th pick and a 38th pick they don't mean too much in terms of the players you get in that round. So if you can move up 3 full rounds in order to get, I'd do that all day.
And that's what when I first read the question, I think they've said a few more things in the chat room and all that. Lou's answering his questions. But yeah, when you're trading, and right now I'm in a keeper league, my home league on Sunday. And right now people start offering rounds for players and stuff like that. That's, to me, one of the hardest things to do. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. Even when people ask that question, most experts, it's just a little tough when you start talking, players for rounds. Now, in this case, this is pick for pick, and you're not talking, too many, you're not talking players there, but you have to do the math in some cases. You have to look at who's going in those, around those picks, and compare those players sometimes. Meaning a trade analyzer can't tell you pick for pick if it's just picks, but they can if you go 2 or 3 guys in those areas. put them in your analyzer and let it give you an idea what value you're getting. So,
well, some of them can do that because, as I mentioned last week, there was a study that I'd run that looked at what the average points per game would be for players selected in that round. So I looked at ADP and then tracked that all the way back through about probably 10, either the 10th or 12th round, and then took all the players that were drafted in there and then averaged out all their points. So that's just a rudimentary way of looking at it. But you can see the drop in points per game as you go from the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So if you have those numbers in front of you, and let's say, and I think this is the way I had it laid out, it's all in 4-for-4, but it's like the players in the first round normally get you about 20 to 21 points per game. Players in the second round get you about 17 to 18 points per game. And then it kind of cascades down the fourth and fifth round.
So you can tabulate points.
Yeah. So you can figure out, you can compare. So if somebody offered you, let's say, I don't know, a fourth and fifth round player or fourth and fifth round pick for let's say your second round, that's pretty good. I mean, that's not too far off from what you would losing a second round player. But it's just depending on then you get into specifics after that, who you would get in the fourth, who you would get in the fifth, and all that. And it can make things complicated, but at least there is some sort of I guess a quantifiable method of you trying to measure players or just how much a round is worth.
Right. And then let's jump back to our quarterbacks so we can get going through the tiers or we'll never make it. Tier 6, Dalton, Foles, Mariota, Flacco, Manning. Then this has, I don't think right now I'd put, this has Haskins there. I would
get him out
there yet because I'm not sure, but I would move up personally Ryan Fitzpatrick. If Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting for Miami, he has nothing to lose, and he's always been a gunslinger. He definitely could be one of those late streamers. And if he's a starter and Miami's playing against a good or the right kind of an offense, Fitzpatrick, and then obviously at tier 7 is just all random people. So actually, I think at that point. And
I'll be quite honest with you. Why should I would put Nick Foles ahead of put him into tier 5 at the back end of tier 5.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's just he's not in my radar.
No, he'd be at the back end, but I would probably look at him before Andy Dalton. Honestly, before Marcus Mariota.
I would agree. I'll be honest, in tier 6, I would take Ryan Fitzpatrick as a coin flip over the rest of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so that does our actually, that ends all the tiers for quarterbacks because there are no more players.
Right.
Unless
you want to consider Jacoby Brissett now, just because with the Andrew Luck news. I mean, if you want to slide him into one of your...
I think you would move him up to tier 6 or something. I don't know. I'm even looking where he's at on here.
Gosh, he's got to be buried somewhere.
I'm moving just above Case Keenum.
There you go. I dig it.
So there. All right, let's move to our running backs. Tier 1, Barkley, McCaffrey. Tier 2, we have Kamara, David Johnson, Zeke Elliott right at the moment. Tier 3, James Conner, Lev Bell, Joe Mixon, Delvin Cook, Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon. Tier 4, Nick Chubb, Damian Williams, Kerryon Johnson. So and that's where we stopped. So before we go further, are there anybody in those those first couple of tiers that we would change based on any news that happened this week?
I have no issue at this point with moving Nick Chubb up a tier because I think we did this before the Duke Johnson news.
Okay, you're right.
So I'd probably
put him ahead of Melvin Gordon right now. I would take him ahead of Melvin Gordon. So if I was going to do anything, maybe I would now bump Melvin Gordon to the top of tier 4 because tier 3 would now be Gordon, Bell, Mixon, Cook, Gurley, and Chubb. I think all three in that tier, that group of 6, I could deal with any of those 6. And then tier 4, that would give us Melvin Gordon, Damian Williams, and Kerryon Johnson. I think right now I would put Melvin Gordon at the bottom of those three.
I think that's the pressure point right there. Mm-hmm.
So the key now is Damian Williams and Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, I don't think. I think they made that trade last week, right? They got Detroit got rid of their Theoretic. So does Kerryon Johnson move up at all? Damian Williams is still hurt every other day. And Melvin Gordon, you have a chance of not playing at all this year. So
right
now, Williams, Johnson, Gordon is the order. Would you keep it there?
I think I'd probably keep it there.
All right.
I do like. I don't know. For me, while I think Kerryon Johnson is a heck of a player, again, it shows the offense that he's attached to, and they also, don't forget.
I'm not sure what we're going to see out of that offense. I've heard
and they brought in CJ Anderson, and he didn't look all that bad towards the end of 2018.
Well, but I'm not even just saying that. I'm just saying I think we're going to see a different offense out of Detroit this year. I think it's just going to be different. The offensive line isn't great, but it's not. I don't think it's going to be as bad. And again, if Stafford is healthy, he's going to move the offense, which means Kerryon Johnson should get opportunities near the goal line, and he catches the ball. I don't know. I think those three belong together. All three have a little bit of a risk.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Let's go this route then. Rather than tier, Damian Williams, Kerryon Johnson, Melvin Gordon, what round would you consider taking any of those three?
Damian Williams, it would have to be, let's say, middle of early to mid third. Kerryon Johnson would be about the same, mid to late third, and then Melvin Gordon would be probably late third.
So all of
late third, early fourth.
All of those you're saying third round.
Yeah, it would be about the third for me.
Experts on Damian Williams are moving him down. I've noticed lately on Fantasy Pros, a lot of the experts are moving him down to round 4 is where they feel more comfortable taking him out. Don't we all? But, there's still a lot of worries about what he can actually do. But I agree. Third or fourth round, I don't know that I'd start. It'd be nice to have another running back before I got one of those two. But so obviously in either of those three, being your second running back, I would have no problem with that. But
right.
We'll see. Tier 5, Marlon Mack, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry, Leonard Fournette, Devontae Freeman, Josh Jacobs. That's kind of mentally where I put the tier. Would you add Chris Carson or Ingram or move anyone out of that group?
I'd probably cut it right there, but I'd move Derrick Henry out of that tier right there.
So you don't like Derrick Henry. Where would you take him before Jacobs, Carson, Ingram?
I'd put him behind Carson, and I'd move Josh Jacobs into tier 5.
All right. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be the main guy there. I'm just not. Again, there's another offense I'm worried about. So we have Marlon Mack, Aaron Jones, Fournette, Freeman. I would put Jones and Fournette above Mack only because I think their upside's greater, but I think Mack's floor is higher. So I think it depends on how you're building your team.
Yeah.
To me, Jones and Fournette both could be a couple tier higher at the end of the year.
Just based on passing alone, yeah.
Well, yeah. Where to me, Marlon Mack is what he is. He doesn't catch a lot of passes. He's a grinder. Now, to be honest, I think the Andrew Luck news helps Marlon Mack. Because I think if Bissett's in there, they're more likely to run the ball a little more, I think, than throwing it.
But even if Andrew Luck is in, it could be short passes, and it could benefit Nyheim Hines.
Right. Lou says, give me Ingram, Freeman, rounds and rounds later than Connor. Well, Connor, we have quite a ways up. Connor, we have in tier 3, and then Freeman, and then we have tier 5. So that's quite a few rounds difference.
Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to how you feel about Jalen Samuels, and if you think that he's going to take over, let's say even 30% of that backfield,
right,
which I think a lot of folks are projecting him to take over.
Right.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it's still, I mean, he's still going to be the primary guy.
I don't think what Lou is saying is that Connor shouldn't be in a higher tier. He's just saying he wouldn't gamble with. He wouldn't.
No, and I understand. Yeah,
I think Lou's talking a value move here, not a player skill level.
Oh no, I understand,
and I kind of agree. You know, unfortunately, that's the whole kind of argument with that tier 3 group. Is do you want to take a chance on Connor, Bell, Mixon, Cook, Gurley, and Chubb? Which really now all but Chubb have a little bit of question marks on them, where some people would say, you know, Mack, Freeman, and Foreman, if as long as they're healthy and in the situation, you're right. If they're my second or third running back, I'd rather have 2 of those as my second and third running back than Connor as my first.
Sure.
So is where I'd go there. Tier 6 then, Carson, Henry, Ingram, Michelle, Montgomery, Phillip Lindsay. Then we have Lamar, Miller, Coleman, if you think they should be in that tier.
I'd probably cut it off. I'd keep Coleman in there, me personally. Kenyon Drake's in a boot, so I'd keep him out of that.
Yeah, I did.
Sony Michel, David Montgomery, Mark Ingram. I think that's a fair tier right there.
I think that's a fair tier, and I like the upside in that tier to me is Carson. If Carson's, and when I say not just starter, if he's the main man, that's a steal in tier 6.
Which I guess everybody's hyping him up to be as of reports today.
Right.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like get 2/3 of the backfield touches and all that good stuff and more passes. Okay,
but now I look at that tier, I think we could say that with everybody. If the season went just right, everybody in tier 6, you know, if everything goes just right, Derrick Henry, you know, could be, good, up there. Mark Ingram, we don't know what's going to go on. I mean, if he's the main guy there and catches some balls, who knows? Sony Michel, if he's healthy and is the main guy in New England, could be a top running back. Again, I
don't know. I think the problem with Derrick Henry, he still has to contend with Dion Lewis, and like Dion Lewis can still perform as both a runner and a pass catcher, and pass catching is not Derrick Henry's thing.
Well, I think it depends on they're not. The thing about them is their schedule's not as tough as some of the other people. So if they have positive game script, Henry should be in there a lot more. Obviously, if they're behind, Dion Lewis comes in. But, so it just depends. I think that just goes all the way around to Mariota, and how the whole team does and how they move the ball. But that's my point. I think they all have a question mark, but they all have, again, if these were my 4th running backs, any of them, I'd be pretty much fine. I
think from an offensive situation, I think Derrick Henry probably has the worst offensive situation out of all of them. I mean, Seattle still projects to be a good offense, has a good quarterback, has good weapons. Baltimore at least has a running quarterback in order to push the ball down the field. Sony Michel has Tom Brady.
Tennessee and Baltimore are the 2 worst teams out of that group. Seattle, New England, Chicago, Denver, Houston, San Francisco are all supposed to be teams that score this year.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Out of all, I'd probably shift Derrick Henry down towards the bottom of that note. All right. And maybe with Mark Ingram.
I probably will not own Derrick Henry myself this year. Now
not for
Mark Ingram is a different guy for me.
At least he catches passes.
If I start out running back, and I end up with Mark Ingram as my 3rd running back, or maybe some crazy way a 4th running back, I'd be tickled to death because there's just to see, what happens there. Because if Harbaugh likes a guy, he's in there, and even though we have a running quarterback, he's still going to, get looks. So now we go tier 7. We have Drake, James White, Murray, Rashad Penny, Tarek Cohen, Geis, Sanders, Freeman. I guess I don't even know where you want to cut off. The one that I first want to mention is all the way down here at 37. That's Eckler. Where would you put Eckler today based on Gordon?
Top of that tier, if not at the back end of tier 6. Because honestly, if we're assuming that if Gordon is out, which as of today, if we're drafting today, he is out, I would probably I would value him over Derrick Henry, if we're being quite honest.
Okay.
I would rather wait because his ADP is probably a couple rounds later. I'd probably wait and pick up Eckler than even taking a shot at Derrick Henry.
If you think Gordon is not playing at all, let's just say it right now. Gordon's not playing. Where would Eckler be? What tier would you put Eckler at that point?
Yeah, tier 6.
So
I think that's fine.
keep him, if he is the starter for the Chargers, you still would just keep him in 6. You don't think he's equal to Mack or Jones or
Well, because we haven't seen him do it before. I think there's still some risk, and we don't know if he's really if Gordon really sits out for 10 weeks.
We haven't seen Josh Jacobs do it either.
Right, but at least he has the prototypical build and the collegiate production to suggest that he can do that.
All right. Well, I'll move him at the bottom of 6, which is kind of an in-between.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Make him a tweener there. Drake, White, Murray, Penny, Cohen, Guy, Sanders, Freeman. That's kind of where
I'd probably cut it off at Sanders.
And that's what I did, I think, already. Yeah, Sanders. Drake, who's in a boot, which right now I would move him down a little bit. I'd rather have White or Murray, maybe even Cohen, personally, especially in a full point PPR, before I would draft Drake right at the moment. Darius Geis, we don't even know.
I'd probably move. To be quite honest with you, I'd probably move Geis into tier 8 and move Darrell Henderson back up into tier 7.
And all right. And you think is Miles Sanders going to be the starter in Philly?
I think so. If he's not by week 1, then it'll probably be soon after.
Right. All right. Then that would then tier 8 would be Freeman, Guys, Howard, McCoy, Jones. Now Balaj with the boot now in Miami. Where would you put Kalen Balaj right now?
Probably not ahead of Freeman, not ahead of Geis. Maybe ahead of Howard.
All right. And then would you end that tier where? Barber, Peterson, Breida, Deion Lewis? To me, that whole tier to me could be anybody. If they're your 5th running back, you just have to be happy and hope.
I think that's where you have it there is about fine. My only issue with that is like smashing like Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber into the same tier. I'd probably, while Peyton Barber is likely going to be the starter, I do value Ronald Jones ahead of Peyton Barber. So I can understand if you'd want to put.
I personally, my opinion is I don't think we know for sure. I wouldn't want both of them. And if I got either one of them here and they're my 5th running back, I just cut them if they're not the starter or not getting any playing time. So I don't have a problem with them being in the same tier because you're either going to draft one or not the other. I don't think you're drafting both in that.
I'd rather invest in Tampa Bay's passing attack than their running game. Anyway.
I won't argue that. And then tier 9 is just a bunch of people. I don't know. Except, okay, and this one I forgot. Where would you put Duke Johnson right at the moment?
Because he's currently injured and not working out with the team and only has been with them for a week. You could probably move him up to the top of that tier if you wanted to, because Ito Smith is apparently battling for the number 2 position. Right. So I'd probably shift him out of that tier.
And Hines isn't going to probably be a starter, but he is going to be catch passes. Carlos Hyde, we don't really know. Jerick McKinnon, there's rumors he may not even make a team. I don't
start the season on IR.
Kareem Hunt is suspended. C.J. Anderson, who knows? I don't know. To me, I'm done. Well, tier 8 and then tier 9. To be honest, in tier 9, in keeper leagues or something, I'm looking for maybe rookies that I could sit on my bench or really late round picks. The person who stands out in this tier, and somebody might say I'm a homer out there, Giovanni Menard to me is still somebody where if I got late, if something happens to Mixon, we know Giovanni Menard is Miami's number 1 guy and gets passes. And he has value if he's not the starter. I think he's going to be in there at the end of games if they're losing. I know Mixon can do it also, but Menard does do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
So I definitely would have no problem. I've been getting Giovanni Menard late in a lot of mock drafts because no one's taking him at all. So
right, I don't mind that. It's just in terms of week to week value. What is Cincinnati really going to put up? And if you want to swing for upside, There are a few other guys that I see on there that I kind of like.
My argument's the opposite of that, because I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot. And instead of killing Mixon in a year you're not going to win, why not put Giovanni Bernard out there in the fourth quarter and let him get 72 yards and maybe one touchdown in the fourth quarter? I mean,
counterpoint to that, why not try and make sure that the guy that you want to investing a lot of draft capital in, he can actually do it?
Counterpoint, like some political show. My point is, I think here you do what you want.
Fair.
I mean, there's argument that you could pick up Doug Martin. Who knows? No. Sorry. I mean,
no.
Just you wait and see.
Dusty Doug. No, thank you.
Again, we're talking around 18, 19, or 20. Why wouldn't
you give me Jalen Richard over him? Give me Rex Burkhead over him.
Rex Burkhead. That's my point. There's multiple people in here. Jamal Williams. I don't know. I don't think we know for sure what's happening in Green Bay yet.
Give me Madison. Give me Chase Edmonds. Devin Singletary.
Frank Gore could be the starter in Buffalo. I'm just saying. Would you want to? I would have no problem taking Buffalo starter out of tier 9 and getting him in round 17.
But you don't. I mean, other than LaShawn McCoy, you don't know who the starter is going to be.
Oh, I know, but that's my point. They all have a question mark. My point would be, I would have no problem taking any of those people as my last pick.
All right.
So that's all I'm saying. That's my point. That tier is closed. Tier 9 is good. Have fun, everybody.
Dart throws.
Man.
I'll also throw out there Tony Pollard. Actually, he should actually be moved up.
You are right. I have been paying attention to him a little bit now with all that. Now, obviously, if I'm drafting Sunday, I'm drafting a 12 and a 13. I don't think I'll get Zeke at 12. But I'll let him fall. If he falls to 12, I would take Zeke.
Sure.
And then I would come back and probably get Pollard a lot earlier than I would if I didn't have Zeke. But,
absolutely.
I would, again, in tier 9, just put the guy at the top that you like. So yeah, move Pollard up towards the top of that tier. And here's why I tell people to do that. Just so you see them. If you're making a cheat sheet or using software, you know what? Move those bottom guys and those rookies, highlight them, mark them, and move them up so that you see them. It doesn't mean you have to take them before somebody else or whatever. It's just so they pop up on your software or on your cheat sheet.
Yep. Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison, Devin Singletary, Justice Hill. I mean, those rookies really. I mean, those are the later round rookies that really need to be on everybody's waiver wire or their radar.
In keeper leagues, if it's a late draft, if you only lose a round or two, take a chance on a couple of those rookies. If any of them, take off and have a decent year, then you keep them for next year and you get that value.
Yep.
Like Mike, I don't know how most keeper leagues work because I'm only in one. In my keeper league, the draft day sets their value for the next year. So if they're drafted in round 15, you lose 2 rounds the next year. Next year, you get them for a 13 pick.
Okay.
The following year, you would get them for a 11, and then the following year. So, but here's the little trick to that, though. If the guy is not drafted at all, then he's just an 8th round pick the next year. So, if you're not sure, draft the guy. I did that last year. I drafted a guy. I set his value, then I dropped him in round 1, or in week 1, I dropped him, did a few other things, and I picked him up like 3 or 4 weeks later, knowing that, and actually ended up trading him, but I did, I traded him somebody who needed some keepers, and now it ended up being Foreman, who isn't playing. But my point was...
No, he was in practice today, actually.
I know, but I meant last year, though. He didn't.
Right. Got into a fight, too.
But you understand what I'm saying? If you're in a keeper league, know your keeper rules and make some moves in the late rounds. It's back to you. People make fun. I will draft my kickers and my defense in rounds 15 and 16 because I want my keepers in 17 and 18 because I get to keep them an extra round. I get them, what I'm saying? I get at that point, if you're dart throwing anyway, go ahead and get your defense and your kicker and then grab a couple rookies at 17, 18, or 19.
Yeah, round out your roster.
Right. So, easy tip of the day. Dun-dun-dun.
I like it.
Oh, and what did I just do? I hit. Let me bring my cheat sheet back up.
Oh my goodness, what have you
What did
done?
we do? We did running back. I got done. We're gonna go wide receivers. We'll have to do this one quick because we stopped at tier 2.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Hopkins, Thomas is what we have tier 1. Then with tier 2, we have Adams, Jones, Beckham Jr., Hill, Juju, Evans, Hilton. That's our only tier, the 2 tiers we even got done. So before we move on, would you move anybody out or into those 2 tiers based on?
I'd probably move, just swap T.Y. Hilton and Keenan Allen.
So right now you're saying move T.Y. Hilton down a tier. You're
Yep, and then I'd move Keenan Allen into tier 2.
At the bottom of tier 2.
Yeah.
All right. And that's mainly, I would assume that's because of the luck injury right now. So, and
also in PPR, I mean, Keenan Allen, I mean, he's a beast.
Right. He is. And then we have Amari Cooper, who's now hurt, right? Isn't that the rumor now? He's
plantar fasciitis or plantar fascia.
I have had that. It is terrible. I mean, I'm no thoroughbred. I'm just probably a level below that.
Gotcha.
It hurts. I mean, end of story. I'm just saying.
I've never had it. I couldn't imagine.
And then just when you think you're over it, you step wrong or you do something and boom, it's again. I cannot imagine playing football in it or football in it. Basketball was a killer. So T.Y. Hilton, Cooper, Brown, Thielen, Diggs, Cook. That's kind of where I have a tier in my head. Would you put Woods, Galladay, Edelman in tier 3?
No, but I would move. Honestly, I would move Adam Thielen out of that tier.
Well, I was going to move Diggs up. I was going to put him on the bottom, but I guess the top, dependent. And
yeah, that's fine.
To me, that's just I don't know. Some people like Thielen better. Some like Diggs. Again, you're not going to draft both of them, but I that's kind of where I did.
I think it's a fair tier. Right
the key here to me would be Hilton, Cooper, and Brown. Those are the 3 to me because they all 3 have a question right at the moment. T.Y.'s a quarterback problem. Cooper's an injury. Brown is injury and quarterback problem. But would you still draft them in that order that we have right now?
Not me. I would to me, Brown is an avoid for me. Just because he's been away from the team, hasn't been able to establish a rapport with Derek Carr, and it's also Derek Carr. But I mean, he's top 12, top 10 player.
He deserves to be in tier 3.
Yeah, I think that's about the lowest I'd go.
Here's where I'm at with tier 3 right now. If I see tier 3 people, I'm looking at running backs. I'd rather get tier 3 running backs right now than tier 3 wide receivers. But that's me because I think there's some lower tier wide receivers that maybe produce. But I do kind of agree. T.Y. Hilton, Cooper, Diggs, Cooks, Thielen, Brown. That would be our tier 3. Tier 4, Woods, Galladay, Edelman, Godwin, Lockett, Kupp, Ridley, Robinson. I don't know where you want to cut off there.
I would probably cut it off at Ridley.
All right. So we'd have Woods, Galladay, Edelman, Godwin, Lockett, Kupp. My issue there is the same as we even had up with the 2 Minnesota guys. You have Kupp coming off of an injury and Woods both on the same team. I think I would put Kupp at the end of that tier, meaning if that's who I end up getting, I'd be fine with it. But I'd rather take Woods first if I had both.
Sure.
I happen to not be on a Ridley guy personally, but I think he belongs in that tier. I think Edelman is a PPR league could be,
he should be at the top of that tier if we're being honest.
Especially in a PPR league. So,
and honestly, with the AJ Green injury, Tyler Boyd should be moved up into that tier.
I would still put him at top of 5, but I do get that. But here's the other person. I think a lot of people are missing the boat. I think Alshon Jeffries, with a healthy quarterback in an offense that scores a lot, could be a surprise. To me, he deserves to be at the top of 5 or the bottom of 4. I think he's the sleeper of wide receivers right now, which was back to tier 3 wide receivers. I would be willing to pass on if I could get a good running back, because if I came back and got Cup, Boyd, or Alshon Jeffries instead, I think those 3 both could end up equaling some of the guys in tier 3. But I don't know if you're an Alshon Jeffries person or not. Not so much. He throws the ball. Who else? There's the offense. There's all kinds of people in that offense. I get it, but he's still their deep threat.
No, he's not. That's Deshaun Jackson or JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh, no way. Alshon Jeffries is all day long in Philadelphia. I'm just saying. Hey, mark it right here.
All right.
1 hour, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. Easy, right again.
All right.
All right. Tier 5, Jeffries, Robinson, Williams, DJ Moore, AJ Green, Robbie Anderson, Pettis.
I cut it off at Anderson.
Robbie Anderson.
Oh, no. Well, take that back. Yeah, Robbie Anderson should be in that tier. Yep.
But at the bottom, are you keeping AJ Green injured in that area?
I don't mind him there. He probably belongs in tier 6, if we're being quite honest.
Right. I think he's a gamble in tier 5. He's worth the gamble in tier 6.
Yeah.
So, yes, Cha-Cha, we're in overtime right at the moment. We're going over a little extra. We're not on a network now. There's no shows after us. We can do what we want. And damn it, if we're not going to. Well,
and I would probably I'd pull Curtis Samuel into tier 5, to be quite honest with you.
So all the way down here, you would put him above. See, I'm a DJ Moore guy myself. So back to the thing, would you put DJ Moore and Samuel in the same tier?
Yes. I mean, between the two of them, their talent is fairly comparable, and Curtis Samuel is the better route runner. And Curtis Samuel went to Ohio State. Like, how can you hate on Curtis Samuel?
Oh, I don't hate on him. I hate on the situation.
Gotcha. But, yeah, I do think that between the two of them, they should be of equal value. And that's why I think Curtis Samuel should be the Panthers wide receiver to draft, since you can get him about 3 rounds later than DJ Moore.
Right. All right. Tier 6, AJ Green, Dante Pettis, Fuller, Christian Kirk, Jarvis Landry, Sammy Watkins, Corey Davis, Marvin Jones is kind of where I stop. I'm not.
I'd probably cut it off at Corey Davis. Corey Davis or Marvin Jones, one of those two.
I still like Marvin Jones. I still think Detroit's going to do something, but that's just me. But
I wish he was in Cincinnati still.
I do too, especially right now. Green, Pettis, Fuller, Kirk, Landry, anybody that shouldn't be in there. We moved one up. Would you move any out?
Not that I can see offhand. I'd put Christian Kirk up towards the top of that tier. I'm just really high on Christian Kirk, to be quite honest with you.
I'm just not high on their quarterback.
Yes, I know you hate rookies. I know.
A rookie is a rookie is a rookie. I heard someone say that once.
And yes, it was you last week.
Okay.
Dante Pettis, I'm not high on. I think he should be moved down or out of that tier, either at the bottom or out of that tier.
Why?
He's not performing well. He's being called out by Kyle Shanahan in practice.
Coach speak.
Have you heard? I've seen not a single, positive blurb about
what round would you draft him in? What round? Where's he a value to you?
Early 7th, mid 7th, somewhere in there.
Right now, he's my 7th round keeper. Should I keep him, or just if I get him, throw him back?
No, honestly, I'd probably throw him back. I'd rather take Marquise Goodwin about.
No, I don't have Goodwin, so he's not my keeper.
I'm just saying.
I do have Curtis Samuel as a keeper, also
him
7th.
Yeah, keep Curtis Samuel.
I don't like him. All right, AJ Green. Where would you draft AJ Green right at the moment and be happy with it, even if he misses, let's say, 4 weeks?
Middle of the 6th, anywhere in the 6th round. I'll throw the dart there. Honestly, if I was at the 5-6 turn, either 5-10, probably at 5-10 or 5-12.
Unfortunately, here in Ohio, he's going to go earlier than that. Most home leagues still are going to go with him. Shepard, Westbrook, Sutton, Larry Fitzgerald, Geronimo, Allison, Anthony Miller, Jackson. Personally, I would move Scantling up, and then I'd put Kiki Cuckoo T, whatever his name is, in the next tier because he's hurt, and I'm not a fan anyway. Because I believe late rounds, you should draft either Allison or Scantling. I just think they're either one of those late, just in case they're the number 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then you throw the other one back. I have done a few mock drafts where I have grabbed both of them late.
Okay.
Because I think because again, you're going to cut somebody anyway to pick up somebody or use a waiver wire. So if you grab both of them and one of them is the number 2 in Green Bay, that's a tier 5 guy. I mean, maybe a low tier 4 guy if you get that guy, and then you drop the other one. I'm just saying, it's not something I would do for a lot of other teams. I just think if Rodgers is healthy, having the number 2 on that offense is maybe worth the gamble. Back to what you said, which unfortunately that's why I'm doing it right now. I'm on the turn. So if late enough on the turn, especially if I start out with a lot of running backs, and I just kind of need to hit on a decent 3 or 4 wide receiver, I'm willing to take those 2 at the turn at 9 and 10 or 10 and 11, something like that. If they're both there. And move forward. The next tier, because we got to end here. Moncrief, Sanders, Brown, Williams, Kenny Stills. That's kind of, I don't know. There's a few
cut it there.
I think again, those are all coin flips, gambles. I mean, who knows? What if Moncrief ends up being the number 2 in Pittsburgh? John Brown could be the number 1 in Buffalo. You could get the number 1 in Buffalo. I know people question that, but you know what? If you get him as your 4th or 5th wide receiver, and he averages 70 yards a game and 1 touchdown, who wouldn't take that out of their flex or bench?
He's a good player.
Yeah. So
I'd pull
Tyrell Williams right now if there's issues with Brown.
Yeah, I think he winds up being their number 1, I guess. I mean, he's the one that's been there and been able to practice with Derek Carr. And he's kind of gone under the radar because everybody's talking about Hunter Renfrow and pretty much anybody else other than Tyrell Williams, who actually is a good football player, a good route runner. Right.
Tier 9, Harry, Gallup, Tate, Wilson, Washington, Hamilton, Crowder, Sanu, Metcalf. That's kind of where I ended there. But again, you could move anybody up or down.
I'd pull Gallup and Tate into tier 8. I mean, even with the suspension, I think Golden Tate is probably going to be fairly valuable. Michael Gallup also in his 2nd year with Dak Prescott. I'd pull him into tier 8 as well.
I know my problem with Gallup, and here's where you'll laugh at me. My issue with Gallup is I can get Randall Cobb in round 17 or 18 and drop him if he doesn't. There's a chance Randall Cobb is more valuable to me than Gallup. I'm just saying. I mean, I would have no problem taking Randall Cobb as my last wide receiver before I take my kickers in my defense, and I'll cut them versus 2 rounds, 3 rounds before that when people are taking Gallup. That's just my thing. I mean, we do know Randall Cobb healthy with a healthy quarterback in the right situation will get passes.
Should, yeah.
And who's the little guy that played the slot for Dallas last year? He's now in Buffalo.
Yeah, Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley had decent weeks last year. If he was your,
man, they came few and far in between though.
Well, I'm just saying we're still talking someone on your bench where you're going to play him. You're going to play him on a week where you've got other guys that have to sit. at least if you put Randall Cobb in there like you did Beasley, there was a chance he would get 4 catches and a touchdown.
But I think if you're aiming for upside,
Beasley had a game where he had 8 catches, I think twice last year. Now I know okay, but my point is, for somebody you get in the 17th round, I mean,
you can get Michael Gallup in the 12th and 13th, and his range of outcomes is at least 80 to 120 yards and a touchdown. He's like their Deshaun Jackson. He plays outside. His ADOT is like over 14, 15 yards.
The other guy I like really late down here, which again, 2 of them, and they're right here beside each other, Paul Richardson and John Ross.
No.
Again, you can say no, you're wrong again, but my point is Paul Richardson could be the number 1 in Washington. He does have skills. He's a big guy. He's fast.
Who's going to be passing him the ball?
I understand that, but we're talking the 16th pick of my draft. Same with
Mecole Hardman.
Same with John Ross. Same with John Ross. I'd have no problem taking John Ross. Hell, I guess now I say it, Cole Beasley's down here. I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm just saying there are a few dart throws down here.
David Moore, Miles Boykin.
I would okay.
Chris Conley.
Now, here's a lot of people are missing. Again,
Flash.
50-year drafts. I mean, some people are putting Josh Gordon on their roster at the end. So just some late names. Hey, people like that stuff. Because you have to pick somebody at the end. In my home draft, we do not have to pick kickers and defenses.
Right.
So take a dart throw on one of those that maybe ends up being a star, a number 2 or something like that. You can always drop them. So
I guess for me, if I'm going to take a dart throw, I want some upside in it. And if the upside that you're talking about for Randall Cobb is 8 catches and maybe a touchdown,
or it could be 8 catches every week and a touchdown. We don't know. I mean, it's Dak Prescott. So
those 8 catches will go to Jason Witten.
Is that you giving me a hard time?
Of course. My job.
Well, we made it. We got all of our tiering done for people who are going to draft, in the next, week or 2.
Mm-hmm.
We might pop it up real quick next week if we need to move anybody or whatever. Like I said, I'm drafting Sunday, my big draft, meaning it is the one for me that means the most. So, it's a pretty big deal. Obviously, we're drafting a little early. Some of the guys aren't happy. Some are, I like drafting early. We've had that argument. Half the league's pissed that we're drafting that early, but hey, you know what? Makes watching preseason more fun. That's my.
I just had a league that's actually wants to move things back to the beginning of September with all the news, and everybody voted for it. And I was like, I'm fine with whatever.
Right.
I'll draft tomorrow.
Well, I've heard of a few teams now drafting after the Thursday game.
Well, okay.
They're drafting that, drafting that Friday night. Because the season starts, and whoever you draft, you're going to get their points and their scoring. Now, don't let the Thursday night game. I don't even know who's opening. I guess I could look it up. But I wouldn't let that Thursday night game. If somebody scores 4 touchdowns, you'll get the points for that week.
Yeah,
but it's not. I mean, that doesn't mean it's a good value. Don't reach for those guys if you're drafting after. But you can do that, obviously. So, and I think most of the leagues will let you start a week late. Meaning, if you wanted to skip, week 1 altogether, you could do that if you couldn't get a draft scheduled. But I do know of a league who last year drafted on the Friday. So, all right, Chris, we got all our tiering done. Any other, any other help for? I guess that'll be my last thing. Then you've killed all my keepers. I'm down to 1 keeper now because you hate on my team. That would be Damian Williams in the 8th.
Take him.
That's still worth the 8th, even though he's fallen down to about the 4th.
I'll take. Yeah, heck yeah, I'd take Damian Williams in the 8th. Okay.
Would you trade him for a 4th round pick? Would you rather have a 4th round pick or Damian Williams in the 8th?
No, I'd still keep Damian Williams because you're liable to wind up with Mark Ingram. Yeah,
but I'd get 2 4th round picks. I would get
2 4th rounders.
Right, I'd have my Here's what would happen. I could trade my 8th round. I could trade Damian Williams now with my 8th round pick.
Yeah,
and I would take the other guy's 4th. So I would have 2 4th round picks, and I would give him my 8th round pick, which would be Damian Williams. So that's my point. Is Damian Williams worth a 4th round pick? Would you rather have 2 4th round picks or 1 4th round pick and Damian Williams and no 8th round?
No, 1 4th round pick and Damian Williams.
All right, then.
I'd prefer that.
That's what I'm doing. And, I'll throw everybody else back. Again,
and you'll yell at me if it doesn't go right.
Because you're a hater. You just hate on my teams that are championship quality.
I know.
And you know what? Well, Chris, where are you going to be? What's going on? Give me a little details on your Sunday, if you want people to know what's going on then, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah. Sunday, I'll be up in Canton at the Fantasy Football Midwest Expo. And for there's going to be so much stuff, but I had mentioned earlier, but in the morning, we've got a fantasy football charity draft. I'll be representing the Michael J. Fox Research Foundation for Parkinson's disease, along with there's going to be 2 leagues running simultaneously, all filled with analysts, some of your favorite podcasters and all that. And then for after that, there's going to be panel discussions. I'll be taking part in the Dynasty panel discussion, so talking about strategy, players that you want to identify and all that. And then my show, Dynasty Owner's Manual, we're going to be doing a live show there to end the evening from 5 to 6. So in between that, there's going to be, we'll have a booth set up. We'll be walking around talking with folks. It's just going to be an excellent time just to, one, be able to meet the other folks in the industry that I talk to fairly frequently, or at least peruse some of their work on Twitter. And then also being able to meet with everybody else, that loves to talk fantasy football. So if you have a chance to come up, definitely show up, and then, come find us. I forget what booth we're at, but I'm sure they'll point you in our direction.
Just go to somebody with a PA and say you want to talk to Chris Allen, FFWX, from a Fantasy Fan Sportscast.
That's right.
And, and the Sportscrew, thesportscrew.com. I want to thank them there for, giving us a home to set this podcast on. Me and you have been doing this long enough that we can support ourselves, but we love being loved. I just love a little squeezing.
Who doesn't?
All right. Now, before we go, now you made me pull up my team. I could keep here. I'm allowed to keep 3. We already said Damian Williams. Here's my problem. I can keep all 3 of these in the 8th. Actually, it's 4 players. I can keep Damian Williams for an 8th.
Okay.
I can keep Curtis Samuel for an 8th. Okay. I could keep Deshaun Hamilton for an 8th. And I could keep Austin Eckler as an 8th. Here's the problem. I only have 1 8-round pick. So if I take 2 of those, I'm going to lose an 8 and a 7. If I keep 3 of those, I would lose my 8, my 7, and my 6.
Okay.
So if I would keep all 3, so the key would come down to, is Damian Williams worth a 6-round pick?
Yes.
Okay. So now, is Curtis Samuel or Austin Eckler worth a 7-round pick?
See, I didn't know you had Austin Eckler too.
Yep.
But even still, PPR, I would honestly still rather, because we don't know. We don't know how things are going to turn out. That's a tough one. I lean towards Eckler in this case.
Okay, Eckler in the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would lean towards
But
Eckler.
here's the thing. I can keep 3. So now would you then keep Samuel in the 8th? That's my point. I can keep all 3. I just lose all 3 spots.
Right. And that's tough.
That's my point. That means I'm going to go a long time without picking.
Right, exactly.
But it does mean my 6th, 7th, and 8th would be Damian Williams, Curtis Samuel, and Austin Eckler. So,
I would still, in that case, I would probably still toss back the wide receiver.
Pardon?
I would still toss back the wide receiver in that case.
Okay. So would you keep? So then what you're saying is you would consider keeping Damian Williams for a 7 and Austin Eckler for an 8. That would be my 7th and 8th.
I consider that, yeah.
Dang it. I'll have to do some more mock drafting. Chris, I'm Easy Kill at a Fantasy Fan. And You are at Chris Allen FFWX.
Yes, sir.
You write everywhere. We had a good time. We'll be back live on YouTube, live on Spreaker. And again, our shows will be posted on the Sportscrew radio network, thesportscrew.com. And had a good time. Chris, we didn't fight near as much.
No.
You're still my favorite weather guy.
I appreciate
Good night.
Good night.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan Podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justthefantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.